Hi, I'm so glad you're back. This time we're going to be talking about communication. Last time we talked about boundaries, and boundaries have a really big impact on our communication process as well. Your partner's friends or feelings are facts for him or her, and when we try to tell them their facts are wrong, what do you think is going to happen? Now, I know you never do that, but just in case you do, it is stunning that most couples and families I counsel are usually on the same page with facts, hopes, values, dreams, but their process of communication about all of it is terrible, and they will admit it. We start out fine, and then suddenly we take something personally, or we hear something differently than it was intended, and we get so wounded in the middle of our process that we end up acting like two little kids duking it out in the center of our conversation. So when you are able to communicate, all the issues about sex, money problems, kids get dealt with differently. You are able to deal with intense issues without arguing. You're able to get out of stuck places. You can disagree and still be okay, and stay fully present with each other's feelings without taking anything personally. That's the key. So we can hold on to the vibrancy and joy we once felt if we're willing to put forth just a little bit of effort and a little bit of time each week. And I'm going to show you how to do that and give you the tools you need to succeed. In essence, we're going to teach you how to create connected, healing spaces with the people you love, and you're going to love that. I have a sign in my office that reads, "You wouldn't be so worried about what other people think of you if you knew how little they do." And frankly, that's true. What does it mean? About 95.5% of the time, my response to you has nothing to do with you. It's always about me. It's about my life experience, my fears, or my needs. Let me give you an example of what I mean. If there were 10 of us sitting in this room and all of a sudden a lady came whizzing through with a baby carriage, that person over there would say, "Ooh, cool carriage." The person over here would say, "Cute baby." The person over here would say, "What the hell was that and who let her in?" And the person over here would say, "Well, that was disruptive." Now, why do you think that is? Everybody has a different little red wagon, and their response is going to come out of that red wagon. Now, if you believe that and you know it to be true, you could change the whole dynamic of your communication process. You could listen without being triggered and fearful, knowing that what your partner says is about their life experience. Let me give you an example. Once I had a client who came in and said to me, "You are the worst therapist I have ever had." Well, I could have brought in 50 people. Then no, I wouldn't have done that. But instead, I said to him, "Tell me why you think I'm the worst therapist you ever had." And he said, "Well, all my other therapists bill me every single week, and you only give me a statement every month." And I said, "Well, that's easy enough to change. Let's bill you every week." End of discussion. How many people communicate in a passive-aggressive way? "I think you're too tired to go to dinner," which actually means, "I'd really like to go home early tonight and relax." Or, "I feel like you're distant from me," rather than, "Honey, I'm feeling a little concerned. Can I have a hug?" Remember how about the boundaries? I am allowed to think and feel and say whatever I believe. Don't think for me. Don't put words in my mouth. And over there is your boundary, and you're allowed to think and feel and say whatever you believe. And I want to know what it is. I don't want to put things in your mouth. I don't want to put thoughts in your head. I want to hear your unique perspective. And in the middle, we create this very safe place in which we can dance the dance of communication with respect. So, when you distance from one another, one of you is not telling your truth or asking for what you really need. One of you is saying, "I don't trust you to hear me," and not leave. Well, if that's true, somebody's already left, and that's you. We know that in your first communication exercise should be about, right? The lack of safety in your relationship. If you can't talk to each other, you need to discover why. If you are withholding your truth, you're going to end up resentful and angry. Why? Because you're not even really in the relationship. You've already left. The worst relationship killer is contempt. Contempt is that fearful response, a misuse of power that is a substitute for honesty. Think for a minute about the last time someone showed contempt for you or something you said. When contempt is part of your communication process, you're on the way out the door because you've already lost respect for yourself if you are the one being contemptuous, and for your partner if she's or he is on the receiving end. So let's look at some of the ways that contempt raises its ugly head in a relationship. One way is blaming. You're the one who makes me mad. If you'd be good, I could be happy. My life is miserable because you won't change. There's no personal responsibility there, and no one ever makes us feel something we don't want to feel. We choose to feel whatever we're going to feel. Nobody can make you feel angry, mad, or sad. That's a choice you make. Another way of being contemptuous is by shaming. Look at all I've done for you. Why can't you do it my way or the way I like it? Or if you really cared, you'd, whatever. Look how much I give and give and give, and you do nothing. All of that is shaming. Another contemptuous thing we do is instilling fear. Maybe you'd be better off if I just left. Or I don't have to put up with this, you know. I could just pack my bags and go right now. You know what you really want is that person to stop you and say, no, I love you so much, please don't go. But the way you're looking for that is by a misuse of power, instilling fear. Do not ever threaten to leave unless you are ready to pack your bags and you mean it. Because every time you do that, in any relationship, you chip away at the foundation of safety, and it's really hard to get that back. Projections are another way. You may as well leave because you think I'm no good. Well, if you think I'm going to cheat or drink, I may as well do that. I love that one. It's such a great justification for being bad. Intimidation. If you weren't so stupid, you'd get it. Doesn't take a Philadelphia lawyer to. Do you really want someone you care about to feel stupid? That's another misuse of power. Stop. Interrogation. I want to talk to you right this minute. I don't care if you're not ready. Well, why did you? Well, why won't you? All of that is awful because it may be a time when your partner or your friend or someone you care about is overloaded and sincerely does not have the ability to answer you. So how do they walk away feeling? Really bad about themselves. Compliance, believe it or not, is another misuse of power. Okay, have it your way. That is being in control in a passive-aggressive way. Who is it that's in charge now? If I say, okay, have it your way, and I leave the conversation, I just stopped the whole process. Who's really in control? Negative control? The person who does that. Resistance. I won't talk about it. It's always been the same as it's always been. What's the point? Apathy. That's the point. You're not in the relationship because you don't care enough about you or your partner to even try. Another way of showing contempt is withhold. I'm not telling you why. You should figure it out for yourself. And if you don't know, I won't tell you. No sex for you. Withhold, and making the other person look wrong is sadistic. That is not okay. Shut up. Up goes the invisible wall. The unspoken message. Don't come near me. What does one do to create healing in that circumstance? And then there's the gender stuff. This one kind of really pisses me off. It's that time of the month which cracks me up. Or if you're a man, you can't really understand because you're a guy. We both have the capacity to have compassion, understanding, and love. Please don't diminish anybody because of gender. The whole point of all of your relationship evolution is to move beyond the gender stuff into fair and just equality and respect. We want to empower each other. We want to be whole human beings. We need women who are sensitive and powerful, and men who are exactly the same, powerful and sensitive. We need to help each other be successful. Withholding information is not helpful. Now, if we get information and then somebody takes it personally, what will happen? Here's an example if that happens to us about sexual issues. If your partner, and this happens all the time when we're doing counseling, by the way, if your partner tells you what feels good to him or her when you are making love, some people will come back with, well, what's wrong? Don't you think I'm a good lover? Halt. Stop. Take a minute. Be delighted that your partner is teaching you how to be his or her best lover. If your partner trusts you and he or she is inviting you to know how to make her happy, then make sure that you're listening to that. That's a gift that she is giving you. She's telling you how to be her best lover. Trust me, gender issues are just another way of distancing. We need two whole people. It doesn't matter what gender you are. In fact, the exact same issues arise in straight and gay communities. And you know what? Gender has nothing to do with it. We can respect the gifts that each gender brings without making one-up kinds of values about it. Men get to be men, women get to be women, and we need to respect each other with honor and support for our differences, our similarities, and see it all as a gift. How about answering a question with a question? Round and round and round and round. You will never get anywhere with that process. Or calling in the troops, you know that one? Everybody knows I'm right. All of our friends say so. I know none of you do that, but some of you might. Does anybody here know about these responses? Of course you do. That's what we've been taught to make ourselves safe. So let's go back to our boundary illustration. Download it if you haven't already done so. We're all walking around with that little red wagon of life experiences. And when I talk to you, I'm talking to you through my red wagon of life experiences, and you are hearing me through yours. And when you talk to me, you are speaking through your red wagon of life experiences, and I am hearing you through mine. See why things can get pretty screwed up? So here's the thing, I want you to imagine this. Imagine that you're over there in your circle or boundary, and you're talking to me. And right over here, I'm in my circle of boundary, and I'm talking to you. And there's this wonderful space in between us that allows us to dance in ethical, honorable communication. So you really want to provide that. You really want to give that to each other. Be interested in how your partner feels. Be amazed. So the clearest messages are those intuitive feelings, which are messages from your soul. They're not a result of what somebody else does to you or what has happened to you in life. When you're acting contemptuously, blaming, criticizing, judging, resenting, envying, hating, and manipulating others, your soul is saying you are afraid or you are out of an alignment with your own integrity. The moment you begin to use negative force instead of personal power, you have lost your center and yourself. Real power does not include force ever. Conscious people look at their external world as a mirror that reflects their intentions, emotions, and thoughts. We feel things based upon our own level of alignment with our own soul and integrity. That's why we must always be in the process of healing ourselves. The more we heal, the less the rest of the world is able to hurt us or anger us, and the rest of the world is healed. I want to explain that for just a minute. When you are standing in alignment with your truth, your values, and you are being exactly who you came here to be, doing exactly what you came here to do, what is happening in your part of the world? A change in frequency that is aligned with spirit. So that change in you becomes a world event. Think about that. When your red wagon is filled with emotions of fear, doubt, and the need for power and control, the need for looking good or being right, both your communication and your life process will be all about exploiting others, manipulating others, and circumstances to get safe. You will be filled up with get your own way. The problem is you'll be getting in your own way. When you are operating out of lower level energy or survival chakra or a red wagon of fear and doubt, you're going to create exploitation and controlling others. A lower vibration is all in that survival stuff. You may have the illusion of power for a while, which is why great leaders often fail. But authentic power only arrives when you're acting in full agreement with the best of who you are in perfect alignment with your own spirit. Instead of trying to change circumstances or people to make yourself safe, examine your own emotions and change them for yourself. When you are aligned with your energy coming from love and grace and trust, it transforms your experience into a creative celebration, into experiencing life as it was designed, filled with love. Let's take a second to talk about how this affects businesses, because some people may think this is only about loving relationships with friends. This is not some touchy-feely nonsense. The most respected business leaders in our country right now are those who are awake, respectful, and conscious. Companies who have adopted conscious capitalism, like Ben & Jerry's, Whole Foods, The Container Store, Tom's Shoes, are creating success in difficult times by moving away from the paradigm of higher productivity through intimidation or quotas to a whole new paradigm of higher productivity through value for employees. The gifts are not so different from what happens in families and relationships. Conscious companies treat their stakeholders better. As a consequence, their suppliers are happy. They do business. The people who do business with them are happy. Employees are more engaged and productive and more likely to stay. These companies are more welcomed in their communities, and customers are more satisfied and loyal. In every area of our lives, the old paradigm of hierarchy and control is collapsing. That is why the only way this world will survive is to be awakened. The only way your relationship will survive is to be awakened. Those relationships and organizations and companies based upon fair and just principles who are aligned with their values will be the only ones who survive. Now, I know right now it doesn't appear to be that way because we are in a moment that is loaded with the misuse of power. But companies and leaders who lead through the misuse of power, trust me, ultimately do themselves in. Look at history. That is why you and I have to stay aware in the present moment, to be aligned with your spirit and consciousness. If you are futurescaping into all the feelings of the future, thinking something terrible might happen, or you're backpedaling into all the fears and troubles of your past, then you cannot know or feel aligned, and your power is gone. Because your power is in the present, right here, right here. And when you're not in the present, you're not connected to it. Your experience of intimacy is not dependent upon how anybody else behaves. I could be intimate with this chair I'm sitting in if I wanted to open my heart to all the rapidly moving particles, all the beautiful hands that created it, all the stories of everyone who's ever been in my office who came here to heal and did. It would remain simply a chair the whole time. But it's all about how the energy leaves me and arrives over here. When I am processing in love, the experience goes from disconnect to one of intimacy and grace. When you get this piece, the power changes and you begin to process differently. It goes from the external, you or that makes me angry, to an internal question of, why am I in the experience of anger? It goes from you make me jealous to, I wonder why I'm feeling jealous right now. What about myself don't I trust? It goes from you or that makes me sad to why am I in the experience of sadness? What do I perceive myself losing or having lost that I don't believe I can regain? It goes from you or that makes me fearful to why am I in the experience of fear? In what way do I not trust myself to show up for me, stand up on my own side? When you are not projecting all your issues onto the other person, you can begin to create a safe space for both of you to be heard. It's clean, it's respectful, it's so much easier to hear each other, and you become empowered. While you are in this process speaking from an I space, And I ask you to use the word I because we live in a world that is distanced from personal responsibility and ownership by generalized or global words like you, everyone, we. I'm sure all of you recognize that. And I know that you've all noticed a total lack of responsibility somewhere in the world. We could look toward Washington. We are individually responsible for everything that happens in our life, even the situations we cannot control, like the weather. We are responsible for how we respond to it. We are responsible for what happens to us. Now breathe. Are there any perfect people watching this? I don't think so. I'm not one of them. Good, so we can be comfortable knowing that all of us are growing and all of us are in good company. But remember, and don't try to convince or change each other's opinions or truths or feelings in your process. We honor that each person's perspective is truth for that person. This is not that Tony Robbins kind of workshop where I'm going to ask you to walk on fire and rev you all up and get you to agree with me so that you'll sign up for next week. This is about you going inside to find the gold in your own relationship, in your own heart, and you shouldn't have to pay for that. You simply need to be brave enough and willing enough to commit to being your best self. Another important tool is the concept of objectivity, which is trying to see how the other person's truth is true for him or her. This is something we all need to do with our partners and families, especially when we're intent on being right. We need to step back and want to hear what our partners say. When you feel yourself separating or distancing during an exercise or discussion, call it for yourself. You don't have to tell your partner, but call it for yourself. Say, wait a minute, stop. I left for some reason. Let me get back before we continue. Take a breath, reconnect, give yourself the experience of deep connection so that you can integrate the experience. There are going to be many times when you want to zone out or start to feel disconnected. I'll tell you a little secret. That simply means you're doing good work, you've hit a space that's important, and that zoning out or disconnection are some of the ways we distance from our feelings or avoid talking about this information. All right, lots of information again, and I fully expect that as with every other presentation, I want to encourage you to go back and hear it as many times as you need to be able to integrate the information in every session. So please download the communication exercise. Set up your 1-hour appointment with your partner and try it on. Be sure to let me know how you're doing and send any questions you have. Go to the website and send your comments directly to me. I will read every one of them. Hope to see you for our next session, which is all about making conscious commitments. Meantime, let's give yourself a moment of appreciation. Put your hand on your heart and thank yourself for being wise enough, self-loving enough to want to spend this time with us waking up together. What you do is incredibly important. And remember, every healing step you take is a world event within. Thank you for being with us.